We will just start without Mr. Hanger. I would like to call to order this board meeting. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, board, at this time I'd like to ask for a moment of silence in remembrance of our two Francis Hall students who we lost in this last week. Mason Warren Baker from Hollenbeck Middle and Ray Hyder from Francis Hall North. Okay. At this time, we will move on to special recognitions. I'll toss it over to Ms. Jennifer Jones.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. So 300 Francis House students were named Advanced Placement, or AP Scholars, for the 2019-2020 school year. The AP Scholars program recognizes high school students who have demonstrated outstanding college-level achievement through AP courses and exams. There are 4 different levels that students can achieve: AP Scholar with Honor, AP Scholar with Distinction, and the highest award, National AP Scholar. And to be named the National AP Scholar, a student must receive an average score of at least 4 out of 5 on all AP exams taken and achieve scores of 4 or higher on 8 or more of these exams. And to give you some context for how difficult it is to achieve this national award, only about 1% of students across the country qualify each year. Here in the Francis House School District, we have 6 National AP Scholars in the latest award cycle. Some of those were seniors who are now attending prestigious universities, but tonight I want to recognize 3 students who still roam our halls. First up, and these 2 students could not be with us tonight, but I want to announce their names in hopes that their parents are watching at home. We have Jeffrey Morrison and Samuel Chin from Francis House Central. So let's give them a round of applause. And finally, help me recognize National AP Scholar Luke Kaufman from Francis House North, who is here with us tonight along with his parents. So Luke, please join your principal up here at the podium. And I'm also going to hand the mic off now to Dr. Nathan Hostetler from Francis House North to introduce our student board rep. Will you accept the certificate?
We're all smiling behind no masks.
I trust you guys. Thank you.
I mean, personally, I just like to take this chance to, obviously it's a great award, but all came down to like a bunch of luck and a lot of work, but really, the teachers are the people that made this possible for me, for pushing me to do better. The principals made this possible for me by working their hardest to make sure that I actually get a good education. And the board members like you for helping to make sure that I actually have this opportunity to push myself, to make sure I get good. Thank you so much, and thank you for all the effort that you've done during this pandemic. Thank you.
And by the way, Luke right now is debating between theoretical and applied physics and is working his way into University in Boulder, Colorado. So he's got a bright future ahead of him. Next, I'd like to introduce our student board representative, Ms. Caroline Blanky. Would you please come up? Caroline, this round of applause is appropriate. Caroline has been with us. She attended, I believe it was Becky David, and then was on to Barnwell and has now been with us. And she is, this is her 13th year in the district. Her 2nd year as the student council president. She has helped to manufacture a partnership with the Nahid Chapman American Academy. She's had the honor of hosting the Missouri Commissioner of Education at Francis Howell North for another conference there. She has had the opportunity to build relationships across the city, has presented at MSBA, and has frankly done a remarkable number of things to help put Francis Howell North in a really good position to take care of a lot of people. So I'm very, very proud to introduce Caroline. And as we get this picture taken, I'm going to hand this over to Jen Joels very quickly.
Ms. Lane, we have one more announcement tonight before I turn it back over to you, and I'm going to call Mr. Patrick Lane to the podium to help me with this one.
Sorry, I get all steamed up. The Hall of Fame Award is awarded to community members that go above and beyond to support the children of the Francis Howell School District. It's with great honor to present Mary Lane the Hall of Fame Award. Mrs. Lane devotes countless hours to the Francis Howell School District. I have noticed her work as a parent volunteer, PTO executive board member, co-chair with me, the poor thing, on 2 of our district's ballot proposals, and presently as a Board of Education member. Each endeavor was completed with her very best. Please join me in congratulating Mary Lane.
I don't even know what to say.
Patty wants to take those back with us.
Speechless right now. Well, thank you for that. And welcome, Caroline. You are free to participate within the meeting. If you have questions, comments, raise your hand.
I have a mic.
Perfect. Just push a button on your mic. When you would like to speak, raise your hand, we'll call on you, and you can join in any conversation except for voting.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, and we have no patron comments this evening. FHSD comments? FISPA?
Good evening, board members, Dr. Hogan, executive cabinet, and community members. The Francis Howell Education Support Professional Association would like to thank Ms. Simpkins and the administration for bringing forward the action item of additional COVID-19 leave for employees to the board to vote on, especially with the increasing reproductivity and positivity rates in St. Charles County. We would appreciate the board approving this. This message sends to us that what we're doing matters, and you realize our work is important and not always easy, but we are all together in this for our students. Thank you.
Okay, board, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda for October 15th, 2020 as submitted.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Board, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the September 17th, 2020 open session meeting and the September 24th, 2020 emergency open session meeting as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Board, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent item agenda as presented for October 15th, 2020.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'd like to entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 21 vending revenue budget as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Mr. May.
I answered this before. I know that I got an email this afternoon from a member of the district that has been very involved in our parent clubs and boosters, pointing out a number of the concerns that I had with this. The main issue that I had with it is the reduction of the vending budget that goes to our graduating classes from $7,500 down to $5,000. This year, they've not been able to have a lot of fundraising events and different things like that have been canceled. So this year, more than a lot of other years, that revenue is definitely going to be needed. So I think that we need to revisit that. The other thing is, in reaching out to them, it's my understanding that the classes were not officially contacted and notified of this reduction. So I'd like for us either to go back and review this with them, as well as, our budget for next year has some challenges and opportunities, I guess is the way to approach things, and different plans and different activities. And I just want to make sure that when we're doing these in the future, that we're involving everybody that's affected, whether it be students, staff, or whoever, the community, that we're involving them in the decision process, so that we make sure that we're communicating this effectively to everybody. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now.
To echo kind of what Mr. Haynes said, did we talk to any parent groups before deducting? Or communicating that this may be an issue moving forward, or that thoughts were there?
I will say that last year, when the vending revenue budget was presented, we had conversation then about the level of funding. And I believe that the direction was to share information that the budget might be different this year. And I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because my admin assistant who took care of all those notifications has taken a position at a different district. And we looked today for the notification. It was probably done by email, so I don't know that. I don't know that we told them a specific dollar amount, but based on the board conversation last year, it's my belief that when we sent the payments last year, we communicated to each of the high schools that something might be different in the future, but that a decision hadn't been made. But we'll be happy to take time and visit with those people now. That's not a problem.
I do recall that we had given you guys the direction that we were looking at dropping the budget a little bit next year to down that much, and that we had asked you to please notify the parent clubs at that time to let them know.
And I guess going back on part of what I was saying is this is 2020 has been an unusual year to say the least, and a lot of their fundraising activities and stuff have been canceled. So even if they were notified, I don't believe that 2020 is the proper year, proper timing to be reducing funding to our graduating classes, all-nighters. I don't think we at least leave it the same, and as the email spelled out for us that we received this afternoon, it's probably something that if we were going to change it, we would change it like 3 to 4 years from now, as opposed to, because it affects all those other classes. And then, so I'd like to amend the motion to postpone this until next month's meeting, where we can get more information and reach out to these other groups and get some feedback.
I'll second the motion.
second by Doug. All in favor? Oh, discussion, sorry.
Kevin, is our vending money going to be down this year? Are we, I'm assuming yes, but assuming as no is a bad word.
Last year, yes. The answer to your question is yes. Last year, we collected $66,000. So the year that funded last year's revenue budget. So last school year is really the year that's funding this year's budget, and it went from 66 to 53. We essentially lost a quarter of the year because our schools were closed. And this year, we'll have 25% fewer students in our building on average for the whole year, probably. So I would imagine that yes, the amount of revenue that we generate through vending sales is going to continue to decrease. When we initially started this, we raised about $100,000 a year in vending revenue, and now we're down to about half of that. And I don't have a good way of gauging what the impact of a full year of reduced student population in our buildings will have on vending revenue. But we're certainly going to see, I would anticipate to see a decrease from levels that we've seen even as recent as last year.
So at the budget, on this budget, it's 82,725, and then we're only getting 55. And we're subsidizing that with an additional 32,000 from our budget?
From the reserve, the entire vending revenue account has a little over $200,000 in it.
Okay.
So we're allocating 88,000 of that. About 50 of that, you can think, will be generated on a current basis, and 30 will come out of the reserve that's already there. Now, as noted in the memo, we don't spend everything that's budgeted.
Right.
There are some monies that are set aside for student competitions and special programs that we don't always spend that. But the all-nighter parties and staff recognition, those monies are typically spent. So the majority of the budget is spent, but not all.
Did we give to the all-nighter parties last year, even though they didn't occur?
The payments were made to the buildings well before any of us had any idea what was going to happen at graduation. So yes.
And just to, when we mentioned that we're giving money to all-nighters, is it actually just going to the parent group and they're utilizing it for what they may choose?
Typically, the groups that we make payment to are called the class of 2020, which is a parent-led organization.
I'll clarify one other thing too. Even though the parties didn't happen, those parent groups turned the money they had raised towards the kids. And so there was still benefit to the students even without the parties.
And just to clarify for those that are here that don't have the document in front of them or at home watching, this is not taxpayer money, right? This is money that comes from snack vending machines, beverages, and whatnot as well.
That is correct.
What are the chances that we could just allow them to continue selling candy bars and things?
I'm sorry, Michelle.
So part of the reason that we started subsidizing the parties is because we said can't sell candy bars anymore. And so could we allow them to do those things? I guess now with COVID we can't.
Some of our high schools do have food-based sales that they use as a fundraiser, and there are some limitations on that, but I don't know that. I guess the answer is yes, I imagine we could. We have to check. The reason that we moved away from it were particular federal regulations that limited the amount of non, lunch-based, non-nutritious food-based sales. So we actually had some regulations that we had to meet, which is why we restricted it. It wasn't, we didn't just wake up one day and decide we're going to tell you can't sell candy. We were somewhat forced into that decision. And so I would have to make sure that we wouldn't be in violation of any federal regulations about what we can do.
I thought it was because, I thought we did it because of federal regulations at the time.
Absolutely.
And now I think it's even more stringent, isn't it, because of allergy things going on? I think that was my thought too. I don't know.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So the only motion right now is to postpone this? So that wasn't an amendment,
That was an amendment.
so we need to vote on the amendment before we can vote on the motion. Okay.
Any other questions, discussion? Okay. So I'd like to, entertain a motion to, no, we already got the motion.
I would clarify what they're voting on.
Yes,
so
let's
everyone's
clarify, let's
clear.
read, can you, Laura, would you mind repeating the?
Sure. The motion on the table is a motion to postpone the fiscal year 21 vending revenue budget as presented.
To the November meeting, I think.
Would you like to clarify
The
that
amendment was to postpone it to the November.
to the November meeting? Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me.
Now the motion's been
So now the
amended,
motion's
so
amended.
now you vote on the motion as
So now-
amended.
Now we will vote on the motion as amended. And Laura, would you mind reading it one more time for us?
Let me go back. Hold on here. Sorry.
Just to clarify, so the only active motion with that amendment is to postpone it. So once they postpone it, we should be done with this agenda item.
Correct.
So we finish this agenda item, it'll come back on the November agenda as more of a typical item for regular motion and voting.
So we don't need to have
So we're
another,
good?
you're good, you don't need to have another vote on this item because we.
You haven't made a motion.
We need to vote.
We need another vote.
They approved the amendment to the motion.
Now we need.
Now the motion is on the floor as amended. To postpone this item, you have to vote on the motion as amended.
So the motion is to approve the vending revenue budget as presented, or as amended, to return for the November meeting.
Perfect. Does anyone need to hear that one more time? No. Okay. All in favor?
So you-
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Nay.
Okay.
Board, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the September 2020 financial statements as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Board, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the purchases over 7,500 as
Ms. Blank, I'm
presented.
sorry, can we go back? Who made the motion in a second on that last? Thank you.
Okay. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the purchases over 7,500 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Board, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the purchase of one Cisco Catalyst 950 16-port switch from Worldwide Technology as the lowest bidder.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I will be abstaining from this as my husband is one of the thousands of employees that work at Worldwide. All right, Board, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the master tax exempt lease purchase agreement with American Capital and property schedule number 5 as presented, and direct the Chief Operating Officer to execute the necessary documents to effectuate the lease agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Board, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the tax-exempt state and municipal lease purchase agreement, the lease, through Clayton Holdings LLC, an equity subsidiary of Commerce Bank as presented, and direct the Chief Operating Officer to execute the documents necessary to effectuate the lease.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Board, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the board resolution tax exempt tax and revenue anticipation note, incidental fund, tax exempt tax and revenue anticipation note, teachers fund, tax compliance agreement and related documents authorizing the issuance and delivery of up to $15 million in tax anticipation notes to be purchased by UMB Bank as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we're putting this out there, but it's something that we're anticipating, we're gonna need these, obviously, based on the name, tax anticipation notes, but if we don't need all this money, we're not gonna go out and get this, correct? Mr. Supple?
That is correct.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Board, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the additional COVID-19 leave for employees as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Yeah. Michelle?
Might be good.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, how do we quantify or qualify that they've actually followed everything that's in there?
So through our contact tracing, we'll know if there is exposure and if that's connected at work. And then we'll have some conversation to be sure that those employees have followed all of our protocol, like wearing their masks and social distancing. But we have some very solid contact tracing procedures in place. And so we'll be able to identify if that exposure happened at work or if it happened on a weekend with a family member or so forth. And so we're really only asking for this additional COVID leave if the situation is work-related. We have some employees who are working very, very closely with our students, and mask integrity for our students is an issue, or they're not able to wear masks and they can't social distance from our students. I will say that to this point, this has not been an issue. We have a lot of accommodations being made for our employees that if they can work from home when they're quarantined or even experiencing some symptoms and their work allows them to continue to work from home, we're making every effort to do that first. But there are just some positions where people can't work from home, and it is specifically a work exposure issue, and so we just want to be sure that we're taking care of our employees that are in that situation. We've had approximately 3 employees that have been exposed twice because of work, and all of them have been able to work from home, so we've made those accommodations. We just want to be prepared should the situation come up that we would be able to support our employees.
Any additional questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Next up, we have policy review, which is our first reading. It'll come back to us next month for our second reading. We will now move on to best practice. Near site clinic, Mr. Supple.
Thank you, Mrs. Lang. We're going to provide the board and community some information tonight about our near-site clinic. And first, we're going to start with just a short video. So, Laura, I think you can start the video. Perfect.
The clinic is specific for the teachers in this area and their families. One of the best things that we offer you is something called a PHA, and that's your full lab work, and it's annually. So it's a CBC, a complete blood count, a CMP, a complete metabolic profile, sugar, electrolytes, liver. It gets the cholesterol panel, a thyroid, and a hemoglobin A1C, and that tells me what your sugars are doing over the past 3 months.
The Keaton location offers a wide range of services, including diabetes management, sports physicals, vaccinations, and chiropractic adjustments.
I've been in 2 times. Both times the doctor spent a lot of time trying to get to the bottom of my issues. I've got a little carpal tunnel from teaching, and they helped get me on the right medication, suggested a referral to physical therapy. Dr. Powers actually stayed in the room, spent time, asked questions above and beyond the reason that I was in the clinic. I got to leave with my medication in hand, no extra stops at the pharmacy with running the kids around and all the work I've got to do for school. It's nice to have that ease for sure.
Visits to the clinic for base and high plan members are free of charge. Those on the CDH plan or high deductible health plan are required to pay a $35 office fee.
The nurse was awesome. I got in and out quickly, but I had enough time with the doctor. I felt like he listened to what I needed. I was given the medicine that I needed there. I didn't have to go to the pharmacy, and it was free. I didn't have to pay anything for that.
Doctor-patient relationship is mandatory. It's a trust thing. You come to me and you ask me for my opinion, and without that trust and that relationship and openness and transparency, we can't get people healthy.
Make an appointment today by downloading the CARE ATC app, visiting the CARE ATC website, or simply calling the 800 customer service line.
So this is just some of the utilization data for the month of August of this year. You can see that the Keaton Clinic site, which is represented by the orange horizontal bar in the far left, is the most popular site. That's a site that's located within the Francis Howell School District. We also have the clinic locations in St. Peter's, in the Parkway School District, New Dallas, and in the Pattonville School District on McKelvey Road. This just gives an indication of how they're utilizing the clinic. These are Francis Howell statistics. So we had 150 people in the month of August who visited the clinic, and there were multiple visits by some people, so they had 204 total visits. So I think we're making good use of the clinic. This is visits per patient, comparing ourselves in year 2 of our participation compared to CARE ATC's book of business. So we have a little ways to grow there yet to get to some of the book of business, but we are building a strong base of people who make the clinic their medical home. And I think that can be shown here. This is a comparison of the first year of the clinic to the second year of the clinic. We only opened in October 15th that first year, so it's a very small number of visits in that first set of bars. But you can see how much the visit count has increased as we've gone through that second year. So we're making good utilization. The other thing that I point out here is that we have a very low no-show rate. So book of business for CARE ATC is about 5.6%. Our no-show rate is 3%. So our people are making good use of the time that's available to them. Again, the Keaton Clinic by far is the most popular location. You can see that second to that would be St. Peter's, which is physically close to many of our employees and their families. And then, of course, the other clinics that are available to them. Interesting to note that there are CARE ATC clinics across the country, and so we have access to any of those. So we see like River Forest or West Rome. Those are people who were outside of the St. Louis area, needed to see the doctor, and were able to visit a CARE ATC clinic someplace other than the Metro St. Louis area. This is a very a good chart to take a look at. We want people who have some chronic conditions to make the clinic their medical home. We know that if we can get them to be compliant with their treatment protocols, we're going to have better health outcomes for them, and it's going to lead to lower costs for the plan as well. So we have a number of patients who use the clinic for their chronic conditions, and a large majority of those are, as you can see, 75% almost are employees. So we're very happy with that. That's exactly the outcome that we were looking for. While the clinic certainly is able to treat those acute conditions like the earache or things like that, having a relationship with a doctor and having that doctor work with you to manage your condition, whether it be hypertension or asthma, whatever it might be, is the best possible outcome we could look for. This is an indication of the number of patients who are able to get same day or next day appointments. One of the advantages of the clinic is that you typically get in very, very quickly. So especially when you take a look at acute, which is the lighter yellow bar, most of the acute patients got in the same day or the next day. If it's a condition that could wait a little bit, that's the darker orange bar, and they may go more than 2 days, but that was, like a personal health assessment. That might be a appointment that you could schedule at a time that would be not have to happen the same day or the next day. Very happy about our Net Promoter Score, 97 out of 100 on that. We had a little over 1,000 surveys sent. We have a very strong response rate at 27%, much higher than what the CARE ATC book of business is. And people they also have the opportunity to leave some comments. The word cloud there gives you some idea of the things they say. A lot of kudos about Dr. Powers or Dr. Mergemeyer and the other staff at the clinics. And we hear a lot about they really took time to listen to what I had to say and help me figure out how to manage my condition. This is an indication of how we're using the time that we purchased. You can see that our utilization has grown before, I like to say BC, before COVID. So you can see how the visits dropped off in April and May and beginning to build back up a little bit in June. Mirrors what's happening across the country as people were hesitant to see physicians as we were sequestered in our homes. But prior to that, we were reaching the point where we were maximizing the hours that we had purchased. And so as we reach that horizontal bar, it's important for us to begin to think about perhaps adding additional hours to the clinic to accommodate the request and to make sure that people have the opportunity to get in at a time that's convenient for them. So we're not there yet. We're probably building back up towards that. But I think it's an indication of the success of the clinic that we're having to seek potentially some additional time to support all of the requests. We have a number of flu vaccines that were made available through the clinic. They actually had a drive-up process. You could just come in on a Monday morning between 7 and 8 a.m. and get a flu shot. Just stay in your car. They come out and give you a flu shot and you could go. We actually gave out all of the flu shots that we had. So when I put this in the presentation, we were still doing it, and as of Monday this week, they were all out of flu shots. So, but it is good to see that they're partnering with us, even on something like that, to make it convenient for our staff and their dependents to get the care that they need. So that's just a little presentation about where we are with the clinic, and if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, board?
Thank you.
Mr. Supple. We will now move on to the MSBA board report.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of October.
We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at the recent 2020 MSBA Annual Conference in cooperation with the Missouri Association of School Administrators, where nearly 800 school board members and administrators gathered virtually this year to learn the latest about issues having an impact on their local school districts and to improve their leadership skills. One of the general session speakers at the annual conference this year was the director of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Robert Redfield, who joined the conference from his office in Atlanta. Redfield encouraged conference participants to open school buildings, but he added it must be done in a safe and sensible way. He said it's in the public health interest to get back to face-to-face learning when possible, since schools provide many important services to children in addition to education.
People don't realize how many of our children actually get mental health services in the context of school. They don't realize how many get nutritional support. They don't realize the importance of school in recognizing the sadness of child abuse. They don't realize the important psychological impact that it has for children to be able to interact with other children in the safety of a school that's doing this safely and sensibly.
He added, when school leaders are making decisions about in-person school, it's important to understand the community spread of COVID-19.
And a majority of the individual students that have been diagnosed in schools across our nation, they didn't get infected in the school. They actually got infected in the community. So one of the critical things that I keep asking people who want to help control COVID in schools is to do everything you can to control the infection rate in your community. And that's quite dynamic, county by county.
Dr. Redfield said the CDC stands ready to provide technical assistance to school districts as they navigate this challenging time. He called the coronavirus pandemic the most significant public health crisis that the nation and world have confronted in more than 100 years. During her remarks to conference participants, MSBA President Linda Doherty from the NICSA Board of Education said school board members and administrators have risen to the occasion as leaders in their school districts during the COVID-19 pandemic, often making difficult decisions to allow education to continue during the new school year.
You probably haven't heard the words thank you very often during the past few months, but I'm here today to say thank you. Thank you for your service to your communities. In school district after school district throughout Missouri, school board members and administrators have shown what true leadership is all about. I could not be prouder than I am now to call myself a school board member. Now we have more issues before us, not just challenges, but real opportunities to move our school districts forward, to be innovative, and to truly have an educational system that meets the needs of all students so they can be successful in their futures.
She added, it has become more apparent than ever that our public schools play an essential role in our economic recovery and in thriving communities. Missouri's 2021 Teacher of the Year, Darian Cockrell, was part of the 2020 MSBA Annual Conference. He is a physical education teacher at an elementary school in Lindbergh in St. Louis County. Cockrell says Missouri is fortunate to have so many high-quality educators in districts throughout the state.
Students are telling me every day how excited they are to be taught by the best teacher in the state of Missouri, but I have to quickly remind them that I am just one of a large group of amazing teachers that we have here in this great state, and that all the students in this state are extremely lucky to have amazing teachers who have the love, the passion, and support for everything that their students do to make sure that they are successful.
Like many educators this year, Cockrell has taken his talents to the virtual realm by creating high-energy instructional videos to help students stay motivated and active during remote learning. The 2020 annual conference concluded with a panel discussion featuring previous Missouri Teachers of the Year. One of them, Melissa Grandel of the Fordland School District in southwest Missouri, said teachers throughout the state are doing amazing work under stressful and demanding conditions.
The teachers in my district and across the state have been truly incredible. I think parents would be amazed at the hard work and the hours that teachers have been putting in to make sure every single student gets exactly what they need this year. Without a doubt, it is definitely one of the most difficult times we have faced in education, but it's also so exciting because educators are being incredibly innovative and they're solving problems and finding ways to meet inequities like never ever before.
MSBA's Delegate Assembly met virtually during the annual conference to vote on the position statements that will form the basis of MSBA's advocacy work in Jefferson City and Washington, D.C. for the coming year. Among the new position statements approved by delegates was one supporting a change in the foundation formula that decreases reliance on student daily attendance as the basis for state funding, an issue that has arisen during the coronavirus pandemic. Another position statement adopted by the Delegate Assembly seeks to close the homework gap through federal legislation and funding to address the technology needs of students, including broadband internet capabilities for school districts and communities. Every school board belonging to MSBA is eligible to send at least one voting delegate to MSBA's Delegate Assembly. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Okay, now we will move on to Dr. Hogan for inclusion and equity update.
Thank you. Last month I spoke to you about progress on building our steering committee, and I'll just give you a quick update there. We put a number of those pieces in place. I am finalizing the last community members on that committee, and then we will get started with our work. But just to highlight a couple of things that you're seeing even before that committee gets started. So tonight, in our policy updates, there you can see some actual tangible language starting to take shape to show our efforts towards increasing our knowledge and our practices around equity and inclusion and issues of diversity, specifically in our libraries was one of the policy changes. So you can see work starting to happen there. Another thing I'd like to just give a quick update on, next week on October 20th, there's going to be a community Zoom meeting around a new course we're developing on African American history. And that Zoom meeting is going to serve two purposes. It's going to have Dr. LeGarrette King from the University of Missouri as part of that Zoom call and helping to develop that course. And that's a twofold call, and that is to both give our community information and insights about what we're looking at, as well as to gain feedback from our community. So I'm excited that even before our steering committee gets to work, we are already seeing tangible things moving forward, and it's just exciting to talk about. So that's the quick updates for tonight on equity and inclusion.
Perfect, thank you. Now we're going to move on to superintendent comments.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Hogan.
Three different things I want to speak on tonight. One, at the last board meeting in September, we saw Francis Howell High School get recognized for being a Missouri Gold Star school. And shortly after that, and this has been announced, so this is not breaking news, but shortly after that, we were notified that they were selected as a National Blue Ribbon School. So we had several elementary schools not too long ago, and now we can add Francis Howell High School to that list. So I just want to publicly congratulate them, and there will be more to come on that. Also, within my comments, I hope there comes a day when I don't need to talk about COVID in my comments at a board meeting, but I still feel the need to do so. And really, tonight I want to talk about two different aspects of that. One is just the successes that we have been having. We've now been in school a number of weeks, and things are going incredibly well in the realm of COVID. When I say there's two different aspects, I want to talk about the successes of our teachers, our students, our administrators. We are seeing so many good practices. It's hard. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of energy. This is draining on everyone involved, but we are seeing people do everything they can to make this a great experience for our kids and for our families. And, you know, I've said this a few times, we are now months and months into this hard work, this energy draining approach to schooling. But our teachers are doing amazing things to make that work. Our support staff is doing amazing things to support that work. Our administrators are doing amazing things. So it's just been great to see. And I'm proud to say tonight that it's being noticed. As St. Louis County schools are starting to go back to school, so many of them are reaching out to us to hear what we're doing to make this work. So I'm finding myself on Zoom calls with other superintendents. Our principals, our directors, our teachers are finding themselves interacting with their counterparts from other districts. And really, the number one question is, tell me what you've learned and tell me how you made this work. And so we're being seen as a great example for other districts to help them make their transition back to in-person learning for their kids. So it just makes me very proud that the plans we made and the work that we've done is being noticed and being noticed in a very positive way by districts in our area. And then the last piece that I mentioned is just to continue to talk about, we're obviously not out of the woods with COVID. Things are going well, but I feel it's important to continue to remind people it's going well because of what we are doing. It's not time to relax. You can see, and you hear it every day on the news, across the country, COVID rates in communities all over, and really all over the world, are increasing again, but we're not seeing that in our schools. And so, actually, Dr. Redfield in the video stole one of my points was, as we contact trace our positive cases, they're not originating in our schools. They're happening at home, they're happening in the community, and then they're stopping there. We are quarantining a number of kids, but those kids are not coming back sick with COVID. It's a precautionary quarantine. We understand it's very disruptive, but they are not turning into positive COVID cases. So that has been great to see. That means the things we're doing, our masks, our hygiene, our spacing, is working. We do know it is disruptive, and we, I commend our teachers and our families and our principals for doing their best to work through that. But we do want to continue, and I guess this is probably a good time to remind our community, quarantines are not a school district decision. They're not even a local health department decision. It comes from the CDC through our health department to us. So these are guidelines that aren't just applying to us. And so when people are getting quarantined, we understand the hardships it causes, but we're not locally able to make a different decision there. So again, just reminding everybody that the good work that we are doing to make this successful, to please keep that up. And I feel like a broken record, but I need to say it, even when you're not at school. So when you're at home, when you're in the community, continuing to make smart decisions so that we can keep having school, we can keep having activities, and we can keep being successful. And then just the last piece is shortly we're going to be asking families again to tell us their wishes for virtual or in-person for second semester. So we understand, we ask families to commit for the semester, and given our successes, we anticipate some may wish to come back in person, but we will leave that up to individual families if they wish to stay virtual or switch to virtual, in addition to those that would wish to come back. So we'll be asking for that soon.
Awesome update. Any board comments, requests? Ms. Stickler.
I have a couple. First of all, thank you, Dr. Hoban, for everything that you've done with this and the direction you've taken all of us. I think every single one of us has just been really amazed at how well things have gone. I would also publicly like to thank Dr. Rumpus for coming in, doing all his hard work on this COVID. It's 10 o'clock at night and I'm getting emails from you telling me what's going on. That just blows my mind away. I'm not sure how many people are that dedicated to making sure our staff and our families and our kiddos are safe. But boy, oh boy, you just showed me over and over again what an asset you are to our district. So thank you very, very, very much. I also want to say congratulations to Mrs. Lane. I can't think of a better person to join the club of Hall of Fame winners. We're kindred spirits now, so that's awesome. So I'm so glad and so happy for her. And that's it for me.
Anyone else?
Okay, and especially from like a student perspective, I just want to thank all of you board members for allowing our district to go back in school. I know a lot of people who have not had that opportunity and are in outside districts, they've questioned me saying, oh my gosh, how are you guys even going in school? Isn't that dangerous? But I've seen so much growth within the students within our school. I know personally I was really struggling being at home and not having that connection with my principal or with my teachers or even just being around my students. But I think so many people are benefiting from being back in school. Even though you have to take quarantine really seriously, and it's not normal, but it's our new normal, and we have to work with the situation because we can't control it ourselves, but we can control how we react to it. And I just want to thank you all for working so hard in such a hectic time.
I'm impressed all the way around. I think some of you stole my glory, but I wanted to thank the schools for pitching in for our children. There's clothing out there. The district is providing free lunch and breakfast to our students throughout the rest of the semester. I think it's coming through as a community that's bringing us forward, and we're educating our students. And I agree with the young lady that many of our students need to get back to school, be with their peers, be with their teachers, and although life is different, have somewhat of normalcy within their life itself. Thanks very much.
Mr. Haynes.
Yeah, I'm not going to thank all the same people because I don't want their backs to get sore from us patting on my back. But I've had an opportunity to observe some of the online virtual learning classes that we've been putting out there, and I'll tell you, for the extremely young children, especially like the kindergartners, first and second graders, it presents a lot of unique challenges because in the higher grade levels, they're able to say, oh, chat with me this, or chat this back to me, or give me feedback. But telling a kindergartner to type in a chat message when they can't even type or spell presents its unique challenges. But I've seen growth in the teachers. I've seen the way they've adapted, improvised, and made it work. And it's just so rewarding to see the changes and how hard that they're working to give every kid a good education, whether they're in our buildings or whether they're at home. And I just wanted to thank those, the virtual teachers, as well as all of our teachers, staff, everybody, and our students for all that they're doing to make it safe for them to come back, and our community, because they've given us support. They've trusted us to have their kids in school. So I want to thank them. And last but not least, I want to thank our IT department for all the extra work and all the things that they've been doing, jumping through hoops, and all the things that they've done for us so that we could make this work, whether it be helping people out on somebody working through an issue at home, or whether it's at the school with the teachers or wherever. They've been working tirelessly to get this done for us. I want to make sure we thank them also. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other comments? Okay. Board, as we did not complete the topics in closed session, I would like to entertain a motion to return to closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Kelly, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Are you gonna sure I am sure it's gonna blast.
That's a great answer.
I think she's gonna be a politician.
Hi,
friend. Yeah. Give it to Laura.